Hello, Rachel.
Hi, Ryan.
How are you doing?
I'm excited and sad.
Welcome to the final season of a show we cover, because that's always going to be the state of things.
Oh, not with Discovery.
No, you're excited?
Yeah, I'm not sad, though.
And you'll be sad to talk about it. See?
Annoyed.
I found a loophole. Oh, trust me. If people haven't heard our Discovery coverage, sad is a word used for you.
Fair.
And a word that rhymes with it, too. Mad. But I'm doing well. I'm sad. I'm happy. I'm excited. I'm here today to talk about a piece of science fiction television with you. And no, we're not talking about Star Trek Discovery today, although that is where the name Yum Yum Podcast comes from. It's from an amazing line of dialogue from Star Trek Discovery, a series that we have covered episode by episode, as well as many other sci-fi shows. But what one are we talking about today, Rachel? What are we doing here?
We're exploring the Expanse. And we're in the final season, which we are watching for the first time, having not read the books.
Having never watched the show beyond the point we are currently at before, we haven't participated with any of the other material of The Expanse, and we're first-timers. This is new to us, so please don't spoil things. And if you're so excited to hear more of our coverage, to hear the remainder of it, then you can head over to our Patreon, in which we release these episodes there first, as well as so much other bonus content. And you can be a part of the community Discord, in which we talk about the episodes and we talk about other pieces of things, such as what will Rachel's automatic Amos pick be? People have bets, people have made predictions on that, and what will I think about a certain character arc going forward? That's right. We're still talking about Havelock in the chat. He is going to return. Everyone else has, Rachel. This episode we are talking about today of The Expanse. What's its name and what's it about?
It is Force Projection. No Jedis involved.
No Jedis involved.
That's not part of the title, by the way. Avasarala, with the combined fleet of Earth and Mars, takes this war to Marco. Philip and Marco's relationship is tested. The war becomes more perilous and personal for Holden and Naomi when the Rocinante is suddenly forced into a battle.
What a description. I liked the first sentence. It was very cheeky. It reminded me of the days of Babylon 5, in which we would get descriptions with a little bit more personality. But Meanwhile, but you know what I really hated about that description? I'm not a big fan of ending a sentence with one word and then starting the very next sentence with the same, because one of those ended with Marco and then the start of the next one was Marco, and it rubbed me raw. Swap stuff around. It's Marco, full stop, Philip and Marco. Oh, Philip and Marco. Well, then it's okay then. They put two words in front. Oh, okay. I thought, okay, phew. I retracted back. This episode's flawless. It's perfect. It's yum yum.
Okay, we're done.
Everything's done. What
Bye,
would you
everybody.
say?
Thank you. Thank you especially to the patrons who paid for this extremely short episode.
It's funny because our discussions on the one ships will be longer than this one, and that's really unique of a format for a podcast. Then. I'm done. But Rachel, what was Yum Yum in this episode, though? We didn't mention that.
Oh, I didn't think we needed to.
We need to talk about
but
what
you just declared the episode over.
It's not over. It's not over until we really know. We really got to know.
So we just got to do the Yum Yum part, and then the episode's over.
We'll see how we go.
You want to know my Yum Yum picks because you forced me to have to, because I kept on picking Amos.
I forced it, yes.
You did.
You had no restraint. You couldn't stop picking the same thing every episode.
It's the same character, different things each time.
Sometimes it would just be muscles. That was the answer. I'm like, that's the same thing.
Well, both of them are Amos related this episode. So I have my automatic Amos pick and my non-automatic Amos pick. What would you like to hear first?
Everyone is salivating to know, how did Amos get under your skin? Because with Yum Yum, we're talking about what we found to be particularly arousing, wanting to make us lick our lips, throw our hair back and say yum yum. And so what did Amos do this time?
Well, I appreciate a good work ethic in a man. You slave away at this podcast, and Amos slaves away on the Rossi. So I got a particular delight when he's like, "That's the job, Peaches."
Here's something I've got to ask you now, because this episode is a fork in the road. Do you think he is romantically and or sexually interested in Peaches or Bobby?
Both.
One or the other. Which side are you going to... Which road are you picking to walk down?
Peaches.
Peaches.
I'm
Oh.
gonna go with Peaches.
Oh, ever so sweet. What was your regular Amos pick, Rachel?
It's made of Mars honey buns.
So Bobby gets your pick. That was really my one as well. Bobby's very flirty.
This alloy is tough as shit. What is this armor made out of, anyway?
It's made of Mars, honey buns.
I enjoyed this episode overall, though while watching it, some of the scenes felt a little bit janky and forced.
Are you using forced because it's in the title?
No.
Forced?
No. Pun unintended.
Okay, so
Pun was unintended.
how so did some of the scenes feel janky to you? What are some examples? What about them is lacking?
It wasn't anything within the scene necessarily. It was more just a lot of it was really obvious what they were going to do. And so it was like, okay, so we're doing this beat and this beat and this beat. So I wasn't as engaged because I was finding it very predictable.
Okay. So this episode falls down the negative path for you, which is you found it to be something that you could see coming and
Yes.
it went the way you thought. But why is it not entertaining? Or why is it lacking that certain factor? Because you can watch something and go, oh, all of the pieces are in place and they're putting it down. This is great. This is exciting. Like, they're being honest in their storytelling. Like, yeah, I also saw where a lot of this was coming. I've made predictions that came true within this episode, but I still found this quite an enjoyable episode. I really liked it. I don't know if this is my favorite, but I preferred it over the last one. I found it very characterful. I found it very exhilarating. It is propelling the story forward, but also looking back to the past. I really had a warm, fuzzy experience with this episode. But
Yeah.
what about the predictability angle? Is just not really gelling with you?
I guess it is because I am so aware of how we are spending all of our time this season, because it is such a limited time that we have left in this world with these characters.
We're halfway through the season.
And this episode very much felt like we need to move all of the dials forward. So there's I was feeling very much the acceleration of the season.
Interesting. My issues, I guess, maybe fall in line with that, but I felt kind of opposite, where some of the stuff I'm having a problem with that popped up in this episode is what you would call the padding or the stretching out of a thing to make it
hurry
go
up
for more
and
episodes.
wait parts as well.
My least favorite thing is Laconia stuff. That's where I'm getting at. The Laconia stuff is... we're halfway through the season, and I see where it's going.
And they're
I'm
sticking
finding
to
it
opening with it.
Yeah, agonizing. I'm finding it very agonizing. I'm not enjoying it. And it's not even just, it's the final season, we're wasting our time, this probably won't pay off, which I have obviously be a part of my negativity towards it. But it's being told in a way where it's just stretching what is a very obvious point out to a degree.
Yeah.
And my suspension of disbelief and engagement has completely torn away. I was talking about it last time where I felt like it was tattering, that it was being stretched very thin. And this particular this particular little romp through it, it completely broke away from me, where now I'm like dreading to see this at the beginning of episodes because, like you say, predictability, but for me, the stress, the annoyance is it's not accelerated enough. I'm looking at it going, right.
It's too labored.
That's exactly it. It feels unnatural. I feel and see the writer's hands maneuvering us to the positions and points and messaging and ideas that they need of this.
Yeah. I think I can't remember if we said it on mic or not, but the way that they keep on putting her in danger.
But they're not.
And we were like, so something's going to happen to the brother, right? Because they keep on setting up that she is going out and putting herself in danger and these ridiculous situations. And the brother isn't allowed to come and he keeps on getting warned. So it's like, okay, something's going to happen to him. And no!
Something happened to him, but we don't know what it is in this episode. I want to ask you this because you and I both, as our jobs, have to work with children. You work with older children, I work with younger children.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'm the more reliable one here, but I want to ask you as well.
I've worked with younger children in the past.
Yeah, but I'm talking currently. Is it hard to believe that a girl of this age is as naive, let's say, as she is in the series of events we're seeing? Because I'm having a real problem with it where I keep thinking if this girl was 7 years old, I could understand. But this girl is older than that. She has not grown up on an alien world her entire life. She's from Earth, from what I understand, or she's from, like...
She definitely doesn't have the hallmarks of a belter.
And I'm just having this absolute wall of disbelief be built up of this child's actions and reactions to not just the alien world, but so many other things where I just go, you're being played in my mind as younger than what I'm actually seeing on the screen to justify this happening. Like, if this is in the book, I can see like, oh, you're imagining...
Like we have with Philip.
Like we have with Philip, but this is...
even more so.
Yeah, but even more so, yes. Like, how do you feel about that? Because
yeah.
Am I being too unfair or
I don't
hardline?
think you're being unfair. No. I look at her and go, okay, you're probably like 9, maybe.
I was thinking like 11.
I didn't think she was that old. I didn't think she was like end of primary
See,
school.
her brother looks like he's 9.
True.
I found out they're twins, apparently. She's just tall. So, taller than him at least.
Then what? Yeah. Then you don't
like
get to
the real life actors, I think.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant the characters as well.
One of our patrons said that they're twins. I have to double check this, but So you also agree that there is a bit of an
A
incongruity
disconnect.
happening with the age and her actions or reactions.
Yes. Yes.
I always worry that when we bring up a critique like this, the defense is, well, no, children are naturally inquisitive to a point of maybe being reckless.
Yeah. Children are fucking dumb.
But is this too unbelievable in the realm of dumb? Because there's a difference
Not
between
for me.
real, like naturalistically well executed naivete and dumbness of children and writing kids as dumb because narrative.
It's narratively needed, but it's not so unrealistic that I'm like, oh, no kid would fucking do that. Yeah, a kid would fucking do that.
She just doesn't have any reactions that I would find relatable. Like, she's never once fearful of anything that's on this world. Like, I get it, she's excited about alien creatures and all that, but the visual presentation of what they've given us is so overtly sinister and creepy that I can't help but scratch my head and go,
Don't trust the fucking dog! Don't trust the
it doesn't look like a dog. Don't do it. Yeah, Rachel's squeaking, don't do it, so you better not do it.
She's gonna do it.
There's just an unnatural quality to Laconia's writing. Like, for instance,
Yeah.
a lot of it is withheld from us because dramatic and you've got to dole out the information. But when it is, it's done in the most obvious, like, as you would know, did you know? And it's like, why are you talking like that to people who do know? You're telling us, the audience, because we don't know. Like, in the beginning, she has her little class and the adults talking, and he's just giving us information, but the way he's talking, it would not be done in that manner. Not that I buy. It's just maybe because we don't have any attachment to Laconia. This girl, whose name I don't even know, I don't find her particularly compelling character, and like I'm saying, one that I can relate to. She's just written in a very scripty way that necessitates things to go on. And as you said, she's been put in danger so much, and yet danger has never happened to her. Of course it's going to happen to her brother, because that would be the way you zig when you think we're going to zag.
Yeah, but it was so obvious that they were gonna zig. I really thought they were gonna zag.
What do you feel, though, about what we are learning and seeing and what they're teasing on Laconia?
It's fine. It's kind of fine. I just am like, okay. So it is making proto-molecule?
Well, the Martians have, the Laconians have proto-molecule.
Like
Are they
the
growing
creature
it?
has some ability to restore things or duplicate things.
Restore, she says fix, because her drone has been fixed. It's got little glowy blue bits in it now. And then the mother bird creature is resurrected. And it's hard to tell, is it now weird and zombified and creepy? Or is it just normal? Because it was weird. It's a weird alien creature. And when we first saw it, when it was alive, it was weird and creepy. I can't tell if this is supposed to be like actually creepy and weird now, or if this is just how it looks in general. I don't have a frame of reference. I don't have a context.
I couldn't tell either, so we're on the same page.
And what do you get out of this? Like, what do you think they're driving at here?
That they still have no fucking clue what's going on Laconia, and that there are weird consequences of being on this planet. That's what I get at the moment. I really haven't given it any thought, because I'm like, they'll explain it soon.
One thing that bothers me about Laconia, and The Expanse has done this from time to time. I'm getting flashbacks of Chris Jen's political campaign during season 4, in which they've got an end point in mind, or an idea that they want us, the audience, to get to. And so they're reverse engineering it and forcing it down in a way that does not feel in line. And I say that because of because of two specific things that stood out to me. I'll go with the lesser one to this point, but it does bother me in media. Her brother is severely injured, possibly dead. And at no point does she ask what happened.
No, she...
For an agonizingly long period of time, she doesn't say it.
Oh, no.
Because we've got to wait till the next episode to find out. All I see is the unnatural writing. And the other, this is the big thing. They want us to get to a certain point that we aren't coming to, but they are going to get us there, which is she sees this bird creature resurrected from the dead. She sees it crawl on out, and she says to the little creepy alien dog creature, "You fixed her." Would that be the word you use?
Not me.
It's
not me. You?
You healed her. You brought her back to life. Oh my God. You resurrected her. Fix is a very specific term to use. In my mind, it's subconsciously telling me that we shouldn't look at these alien creatures like bringing a person back to life or creature back to life. Because, by the way, she's clearly going to get her brother brought back to life by these things.
Oh, yeah.
It's a real Pet Cemetery setup. But don't worry, I'm sure we'll get there in 2 episodes' time. But Fix...
Not yet.
Fix is a very mechanical, very clinical, like not even clinical, very mechanical way of describing this process. And in my brain, it's the show subconsciously putting this idea in my head of we shouldn't look at these things as living creatures that we know. We should look at it like how we did the proto-molecule. This abstract alien thing that basically works as like a weird technological thing. This isn't a dog. This is some kind of, mechanism to help fix things. That's how that word is used in my mind, because it's not what you would say, right? Like, I know that you would say, like, when somebody gets injured, they fixed you up. But in this context, we keep using context. It's important. That choice.
It's the kings.
Universal laws for lackeys. Context is for kings.
Did you know Marco's a piece of fucking shit who doesn't value human life?
Well, he values certain belters' lives, but only the pure ones.
Yeah, but I am in general does not value human life. He values some people as a commodity, but the existence and sanctity of human life is not something that he gives a fuck about.
Why would you say that? He's fighting for the people.
I would say that because he abandons series. He gives a weak-ass fucking justification for how he never planned to take care of the station, which we both kind of knew already.
He made that clear from the beginning that there was never going to be them controlling it because the inners would eventually get it back and there's no way to defend it. So they were stripping it the entire time.
So, yes, we saw that. And now he abandoned it. And then he fucking blew up the resources.
Well, I was going to ask,
right?
Do you feel that was my next question. Do you feel that was him, or do you feel like it was disgruntled belters still on series lashing out at the inners who are now in control?
I think it was him, because we know that they can build a good bomb. Like, Naomi couldn't disarm the ship last season.
True.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't find something, or they didn't look, because it's just like, well, why the fuck would he?
He leaves Sirius Station, but he makes sure that the UN and Mars have just a great piece of problem solving ahead of them.
Which is, how the fuck do we solve this humanitarian crisis when we already have multiple crises happening on the home front? Also thanks to Marco.
He's left over 1 million people with so little to survive that if Earth doesn't help, then, and the inners, if they don't help, then they're responsible for the deaths and misery of these belters, and that will only strengthen Marco's cause, and people just side with him more and more and more. But he's the person that did this to them in the first place.
Yep.
It's a great plan. Like, it's a great little, like,
Marco
fuck
knows
you to
how
the
to
inners.
use things to his advantage.
When they boarded Ceres Station and they're going through it with all the Martian Marines and they're locking it down and everything's pretty empty, I was expecting a bomb to go off then.
Yeah, so was I.
But the show and Marco is better than that. They reveal a much more politically charged and infuriating crisis instead, and then later on detonate the bomb. Once the UN Martians have set up shop on Ceres, then this shit can hit the fan. But this is such a
is Monica safe?
Well, we'll always wonder if Monica's safe. I hope she is. She'll survive.
The cute little orange cat.
Though that's the real thing you need to worry about. Is the cat okay?
Did they kill the cat?
They won't have killed the cat. The cat will be back next episode with Havelock. I'm assuming he's still on Ceres Station doing his job, helping people. Where was he to teach those soldiers how to speak Belter? He would know by now.
He would. He would.
Christian has some fun back and forths with the brass and the people on Ceres Station, and just having to chew on the crisis at large.
Yeah, and she is just dealing with this giant turd that Marco was left in her lap. And I always appreciate how quick she is to realize what Marco is doing, whereas other people are much slower to figure it out. She's just like, oh no, he's done this, and he's actually done it quite well. And that makes it even worse.
Did you appreciate that in amongst all of this chaos, we got a point of view from the woman who was running Ceres Station, and that although Marco had did all of this stuff and she didn't follow him, and she was a believer of Anderson Dawes, a man with a vision.
She works for the belt.
She works for the belt. She still does not want Earth's help.
No, because they don't belong in the belt. They don't belong to the belt.
I like that this episode also took a previously established character and brought them back in and used them appropriately, because in the council of people that Christian is talking to about what we should do now with Ceres and assigning men and women and all of this stuff, like, okay, we've got to move our soldiers here, and we've got to deal with food and water here, and we've got to manage the PR nightmare. We have the Martian captain from season 3.
You were very excited to see her again.
I was happy to see her again. She was a really well done character and a hero in the series, because she stopped a war from breaking out by not engaging in the violence. She just let things play out. And it was a nice callback to the past. And she was still being rational, level-headed, but still very militaristic, still very Martian. And she's not the only callback we get in this episode. We get quite a few, and I think we gotta talk about it. Monica is on the job she's doing what we are calling like the campaign for empathy.
Yeah.
And she enlisted a very important person.
She did. You only got to see her on the tiny screen, but Anna was back. I was very happy to see her. I was like, oh, excellent person to help you out.
What was Anna doing, and how do you feel about what they did with this character?
Anna was explaining some of the things that were happening back on Earth and projects that people are doing to try and make things better.
And was that a great use of her? She was one of our favorites, if not a favorite character of ours, and we haven't seen or really heard about her since the ending of the 3rd season. And so here she is in a small cameo on the TV screen, documenting the horrors of what's going on, but doing it in a very upbeat, optimistic way.
I would have liked more, but it made sense what we got.
I would have loved to have Anna be more active of a presence in this. I understand why we get her in the way we do. This is 6 episodes. We don't have enough time. COVID was a part of the production, so she's clearly on a green screen by herself. So filming-wise, that meets the standards of what they had to do during all of this. I'm happy that she was brought in for Monica's mission, for the Belt and for Earth to see the humanity of humans, because Anna, that was exactly what she was all about. She was a speechwriter, she's a minister, she's a scientist, and she was used so well in season 3 to be someone that they leaned on to speak. And it's a great callback too, because her and Monica help save the day in the ring space by doing exactly what they're doing here.
By the way, I quite liked your last report.
I figured that. You approved it.
The pastor has a knack for eliciting sympathy.
Well, my next piece will be better.
Monica's campaign is being successful, and it is serving a point. We get a brief moment of the news in which we see another news station having a debate and showing that there is this desire to just leave the Belters to die because they did that to us. And so Monica's whole entire thing has to fight against that inherent belief system that many people would have of fuck them, leave them behind, don't help them. And that she has to, through what she's doing, make sure the Belters feel like they have to lose that attitude as well. And we see it being successful on Drummer's ship.
It's creating a conversation, but also conflict. Like, it's to their annoyance, almost, that they're having this discussion.
It, in fact, interrupts an important military meeting that this dispute is happening, because Drummer is having the meeting with Walker, I do believe his name is, the fun pirate, about what they're going to do to fight back against Marco, and they're confirming the numbers of things and locations of things and who's going to join them. Can you trust this person? Oh, I trust them, enough type attitude. But Michio is being swayed by the trauma that has happened because of Marco, and she doesn't want to fight, and she doesn't want to make people feel as downtrodden as they have been their whole entire lives, and that causes a verbal dispute between her and Joseph, and they spiral it out so much that it interrupts Drummer.
And I enjoyed that scene, and I think I enjoyed that more having seen the one ship.
Would this moment work as effectively if we didn't have more of a knowledge of these two characters because of the one ship? Because the one ship is where we have gotten to see these two, Michio and Joseph, be close to one another. They've been close-ish in other things, but the one ship really is like we've had a whole short with these two connecting, and now we see them fighting.
And it definitely feels like it has more weight to it when Walker is like, I see why you wanted her off the ship.
I think it's an effective sequence because, yeah, they're right next to Drummer as they have this argument. But
she's not usually so easily distracted, even if somebody is close by.
And it's just a microcosm of what Monica is doing, what her impact is, and showing that Christian's entire point was correct. This is just a scene dedicated to showing us a small version of it. Now imagine what it's going to look like in other places that we won't get to see in the series, but because we have these two characters who we tend to like, and they're now diametrically opposed to the point in which Drummer has to stop actual action against Marco to be like, hey, settle down, everyone. Drummer doesn't get much to do in this episode, and it's not as if we've progressed greatly since the last episode in which we also knew she was going to go after Marco, and now she's going to go after him still. She's now ready for the fight, and more Golden Bough people have joined her, but nothing has progressed.
No.
It's one of the weaker parts of this episode when it comes to pushing things forward. This is just we moved it a millimeter forward from where we were last episode.
And it was fine. Like you kind of said, that part wasn't the point of the scene. We thought going into it that's what it was going to be, but it wasn't.
You want to talk about Peaches and Holden?
Peaches is really fucking awkward. I was so embarrassed for her during her scene with Holden. So embarrassed.
Why?
Because I was just like, why? Why the fuck are you doing this now? Why are you being so vulnerable with him?
Because she's a part of the crew. She's now been able to discuss.
That doesn't make him your friend.
But she's not his friend. She's being honest with him. She's telling him the thing that's been unsaid the entire time. He's not going to talk about it. He said in the last episode that he's just seen her as a problem to ignore, and now that they can't do that, she's a part of the crew, we need to follow the chain of command. And in a weird way, in interpersonal conflict ways, this is her following our chain of command, which is we need to get rid of the beef between us. We need to understand where we're at and who we are and where we've been before. I didn't find it as awkward as you did. I don't know. I didn't find it that awkward. I found it satisfying. Because I've had a problem with the Peaches storyline with Holden because that no one's Holden has not been there to discuss, talk about, or have an opinion in regards to what Peaches did and who Peaches was. Everyone else has had an opinion about it. We've gotten to know Anna's opinion about Peaches trying to kill Holden. We've gotten to know Amos's opinion. We've got to know Naomi's opinion. We got to fucking know Ashford's opinion. But what's been Holden's? We haven't really got to see that. We haven't really got to tackle it. And so this conversation is addressing the fact that we haven't. It's Peaches addressing it because he is never going to. I feel like Holden has been very emotionally distant from things like with Alex's death, where everyone else is having a bigger reaction to it, but he seems fairly unaffected in comparison. And with Peaches, he's the one that's the most unaffected by what she's been and what she did. How do you feel about Holden in this way? And do you think this has been something that's always been there, or it's grown, or do you think this is a late series development with him?
I think it's grown. Like, his ability to just kind of shove shit to the side has always been there. But I feel like, especially since Eros, he's gotten more apt at it, of just being like, fucking small beans, whatever. The bigger fish to fry kind of shit.
Is it good? Do you like this as a character trait?
I like it, but it makes me sad. Because it is a reflection of how much he's lost and how much he's suffered.
You found the conversation with Peaches awkward. I found it very rich. There's so many layers to it. She goes through the whole entire history of what's gone on, but she's taking ownership of it. She's the one that says, I did this to myself. It's not your fault. I was trying to impress my father because I thought he was a hero. He isn't. I know that. Like, she's gone on an arc. She's gone on a journey of redemption and revelation, and she's owning up to that, but still admits that she's not perfect. That every time she activates her mod, she throws up afterwards because she sees the face of an innocent man that she murdered. She murdered Ren because he was in the way, and she was on the path of revenge, and it was unneeded to kill him. And, you know, him as an individual also symbolizes just everything wrong she's done.
Yeah. And she's confronting that.
The Rossi crew is one filled with people that have regrets. That's the statement Holden makes in reply to all of Clarissa's admissions. Jokingly says, oh, you know, I think Amos has some, like even Amos, but, you know, who knows. But they all have regrets. And how do you react, and what do you make of that statement from Holden and how it reflects on the series?
It's true. They continually try and do their best, and sometimes it doesn't work out, and sometimes their best still has a cost.
It's a part of what makes found family stories very much enjoyable, because you have these people from different walks of life with different baggage that they carry with them, and yet they may be at each other's throats at times. They may have fought against one another, but they've also fought with one another. And regrets, as well as hopes and dreams, are things that bond people, things that make you relatable. Because when we first started the series, Holden was someone that we didn't really like because he had such protagonist man energy. And I think a huge part of it was he was a character that said he had regrets, but we didn't feel any regrets. While Naomi and Miller and Alex and Amos and Christian, they were characters that not only had hopes, dreams, ambitions, but they also had a past, and they also had regrets. And that made them more interesting. But as time went on, Holden became a man who had regrets. We got to see him make choices that he would regret. And that makes him fascinating. While with many of the other characters, it feels like every action they take is on the path of them getting over their previous traumas that happened before the series, even, as well as ones that they make along the way. But with Holden, he's a man where it's like, he didn't really have any traumas before the series started, but now here we are, and he has so many.
Being kicked out of the Navy, Ryan!
But he didn't give a shit about that.
Everybody on this ship has something they regret. Including Amos, I think. You're in good company.
There is a lot of nostalgia in this episode, a lot of pining, a lot of looking back at where we came from. Bobby and Amos bond over this stuff, and I want to hear from you. I want to know your opinions, because Bobby's a character you don't like, And Amos is a character you do like.
And I like them together. I like that she's flirty and demeaning of him. It's fun. I appreciate that he is still just trying to do his job, but he's very much still himself around her. But his characterization is being highlighted in a different way because of his dynamic with Bobby, and it is somewhat reminiscent of the way that he was with Alex.
They bond over something that highlights Alex's absence. The bad food. She's not a cook, nor is he. Alex was. Alex was the person that would cook them up a lovely meal, but now he's no longer here. These two are bonding over the fact that they have to eat terrible food. And they're joking about it, but there's also like a suffering through it part of their conversation as they grow and get to know each other. Look at all these hardships we've been through, and back in the day, I would have punched your fucking teeth out of your head, and I would have done the same to you, and we wouldn't have given it a second thought, but look at where we are now. Ho, ho, ho. And Amos, you've been to Ceres before? Oh, I used to practically live there. And what's there? And he only knows the bare minimum. He knows
noodles, bars, and brothels.
Anything else? Oh, no, I've never had to really go. Like, that's all you needed to know.
That was a contender for my automatic Amos pick.
These two are fun. I think they're fun because although they are different, they are the two characters that are the most similar to one another. And there's just so much they have in common that when you hear, oh yeah, we're going to pair them up in the final season, you scratch your head and go, should have been the show. Should have been the show.
But Prax makes an appearance, and we loved them together so much. And Amos still knows Prax so well, and it was so cute, and I loved it. So much nice Amos stuff this episode.
This is what is like classic fan service. Hey, fans, you loved Prax, here he is, and we found a way to work him into the plot. And maybe this is in the book, I don't care, but the way that it's done, the way that it's acted, the way it's all played out is for the fans. And you know what I say to that? Thank you. Because fan service can be good and appropriate.
It was short, sweet, to the point, and served a point.
Yes. And it's going to, like...
And it gave us some exposition.
And hope. It gave us hope. It gave us a new way to win. And it lines up with who Prax is as a character. I don't want to dampen the mood, but I would have loved to have Amos and him physically together. Like, in the same room. I want them to hug. I want Amos to shake his hand. I want these two.
I want Amos to introduce Prax to Peaches.
The phone call, the video message from Prax was delightful. It was funny.
I really like it when Amos is just like, give him a minute. He'll get there. He'll get to the point.
He's doing technobabble.
Yeah.
He'll get there. He'll get to the point. And then Prax realizes, and then he does it. I love those kind of gags in shows where you have like the pre-recorded
fun.
message and characters are responding to each other even though it's pre-recorded, and there's always like a joyous time if they're
it's also
spaced out right.
It feels authentic to how strong of a bond and an understanding of each other that they have.
And he gave us some important stuff, and I liked how it was woven within this episode because we got on the news the researcher getting shot on Ganymede, and that was a nice little thrown in there tidbit, but then that actually matters because
that really pricked up my ears because I was just like, is that going to matter this episode or later?
And it mattered this episode. And how does it matter? What does Prax offer to the table other than his lovely presence?
Well, we got to talk about some yeast. they've figured out a potential solution to food sources, which is this yeast, which basically can be turned into a protein.
It's like super yeast, right? Like protomolecule stuff helped out, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure. And so it's like this small amount can generate great amount of food.
Yes. Solving a bunch of problems in the belt.
And Earth.
And Marco wants to fucking kill it.
Well, he wants it for himself. I got the impression that the lead scientist was killed because they were wanting to share the information. And that because this is set up in a weird way.
I took it as he wants control, and it will be harder to control if people have access to food readily.
I'm not I don't see it in the same
But
way because in season 5
I
he
see
was
your
so
point.
sure that we won't have to worry about the food because I've got something on the go for that. And
I'd forgotten.
this is that, but also it just seems right of just like Prax is going to step up and share it with everyone because someone else was going to do that and they didn't get the chance, and he's willing to risk his life for it.
Yep. He's been careful though.
Yes.
He's risking it, but he's not advertising it.
He is risking his life to do this, and Amos has a moment of pause about that and is just in awe of what a good guy Prax is. This is a man who has a family, has a life of his own. He doesn't need to be doing this. There's nothing for him to gain.
Kind of guy Prax is.
And I like what Bobby says about that as well, where it's just like, those are those are the type of people that we need. They're the ones that help make things better. They're good people. He's good people, and we miss Prax every day, every episode. Oh, what a wonderful reappearance! And do you feel like the cameos or the callbacks in this episode were good or too much? Because we got like 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, there were a lot. Each of them individually worked and fit well within the episode. But when I think about how many of them that there were, it feels a little bit crammed.
They were presented nicely. The first 2 were very matter of fact. Here's Anna. Here's the Martian captain. Here they are. They're doing their thing. Great. Prax was the glory shot. Like, here he is, everyone. You've been waiting. Here we go. We're waiting for your reaction. Like, and that's appropriate. That's fine because that's true. I think having all 3 of them in one episode may be a bit too much, but I'm not going to complain too greatly because I love all of them. So I was very thrilled. And I have a prediction. I'm going to place it now.
Oh, where are you now?
I have a prediction because Holden is on the hunt. The hunt to understand how the third space aliens work and how they're eating up certain spaceships going through the rings, but not all of them. Like, there's just something happening here. And I'm making a prediction because he said at the end of it all that he has someone in his back pocket that he can talk to that could break down the science that Naomi is just skimming the surface of. And my prediction is it's probably going to be Elvie.
Yes.
Because she's all about this. And that'll be like, we remembered season 4, guys. But you know who I would hope it would be?
What?
Jules Pierre Mal. Because he's also like a proto-molecule, like, he's one of the guys. And it would make sense because
it would.
Peaches, and Peaches, and it would be a nice
and the
closure.
Confrontation.
Or at least circling that background.
That's the next thing for her to do, I guess.
Wow, you're getting so tired you can't even get through that sentence. You just don't care about Jules Pierre Mal. You're just like, Jules Pierre Mal. I care about Jules Pierre Mal. You've never cared about Jules Pierre Mal.
I've never cared about Jules.
Do you care about the interdimensional third space red goo aliens? I just don't care. Honestly, I just don't care
Moving
about...
on to the next point then.
No, it's just something where we give Naomi a problem to solve, and she just tells us there's a pattern. The pattern is it moves around a bit. Don't know how. We're gonna have to spend another episode on it. Okay, great.
No answers yet. Only questions.
Well, I think it just ties into... This is a series about humans and the problems we bring with us and the problems that we perpetuate. And yes, the proto-molecule and the ring builders were a thing that happened, but I thought of them as like a great thing to utilize the overall message of like, see, this is a race that did destroy themselves because of what we are currently doing. And if we don't alter ourselves and we don't improve ourselves, we'll repeat the past. And we're repeating the past by literally exploiting the past. Like, we are using the technology of this past civilization to benefit ourselves in a way that will most likely lead to our own destruction. That's good enough for me. Because that relates to the human condition, that relates to the characters, that relates to political and theological disputes and ideas within the series. But then to be like, but also, we need to know more about the alien cultures and the thing that wiped them out. And see, I don't like that there was a thing that wiped them out. I just like that the idea that they wiped themselves out with their own, like, thing. But no, there's an actual evil alien. And it reminds me of, like, Game of Thrones. Where Game of Thrones had the White Walkers, this existential threat that we're ignoring, but one day it will come down and destroy us. But the thing is, whenever we actually did focus on the White Walkers, at least in the show, boring as shit. Didn't give a fuck. They were just ice zombies. Okay, great, cool. Oh, what's that? This season they tease us that we're actually gonna get some progress with that. Nope. You gotta wait 4 more seasons. And that's how I feel about all of this stuff. Oh, at the end of last season, you think you're gonna get more progress with this? Not really. You're gonna have to wait some more time. And we're not gonna get the conclusion to this in this season, clearly. This is like end of the book series type deal because it's so beyond comprehension. But what is the satisfying payoff to this? Oh, we defeat the Eldritch Horror? Probably not. I doubt that this would do that, and even if we did, okay, what then? Like, are you going to do the Babylon 5 thing? Or, oh, we should shut down all the ring gates and avoid the alien horrors. Like, one or the other, it feels like. And I don't want to speculate too much on the books, but, like, that's how I feel when I watch the show of just, oh, they're interested in this big picture world building stuff, but I kind of feel like it detracts from the overall message that the series itself has been giving.
You think whatever happened to the Barkeith happened to those ships too?
I can't say that. Not with this data. And I'm no expert on those things inside the ring.
Me neither. But I know someone who might be.
We have a battle in this episode, which feels tense, but I didn't feel the danger because I knew that it was going to be a stalemate in one way or another. I didn't fully predict that they would let Marco get away.
When you say they,
Holden.
yes, one man decided
Holden
that
lets
space Hitler should live.
But I think it's also like he didn't have the heart to kill Naomi's son
In front of her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a decent chunk of it. Like, he says he doesn't want to make a martyr out of Marco, which I also think is a fairly good call, but I think that's going to come back to bite him in the fucking ass. I want him chewed out by Avasarala in person, god damn it.
The fight with Marco was at least tactically interesting. There was a lot of moving pieces on the ship, Peaches and Amos having to do their job and get up and fix stuff. You had Naomi tracking things here. You had Bobby locking in and doing tactical
And
stuff,
then you had
hold and shooting.
Philip and Marco on the other ship as well.
Yes, them testing each other, testing the capabilities and the willingness of what the other one is doing. That was all really well done. And the visuals were fantastic for this. The music really stood out in a positive way. I thought the music during this entire dogfight was great. Marco is so sure and so confident of himself. Obviously, you know he's going to get fucked over. How is he going to get fucked over is the thing. And I liked the method that they used of like, oh, they're going to naturally want to dodge this way. We're going to lure them into dodging that way so we can just fuck them up with just our bullets. And I liked how that pissed Marco off like, oh, just the bullets got us.
Pissed that Holden holds back on that last missile to finish them off.
He knows he's fucked, and yet he isn't. Marco.
Oh, and Marco fucking hates that he knows that they were cut loose.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoyed the mirroring of both sides feeling like they lost, and Bobby being like, we didn't win, but we didn't lose. And Marco's like, we fucking lost! How dare we fucking lose?
He lost his composure too.
Yeah, especially after Philip confronts him and it's just like, no, it's your fucking fault.
Is this the first time? I'm trying to remember. I'm sure we'll get a comment telling us. Is this the first time Holden and Marco have spoken to one another? I can't remember if they've spoken to one another. They've seen one another like in videos and messages and just general scandal. But this
nothing's coming to my mind.
They're looking down at each other in this fight,
and
Marco's scared. You can tell. You can tell he knows that Holden's is better than him.
Yeah, and then that makes him like
extra pissy.
Yeah.
I like the bit in which Holden gives him one last shot to give himself up, and Marco does the "I'd rather die than live on your leash," and he says it with all of this vitriol and venom and spite, but the look in his eyes, there's a little look in his eyes where you can tell he's thinking, I'm going to die. Like, oh no, I'm going to die.
Yeah, he's like, I will fight till the end.
But he doesn't want to die.
But this might be the fucking end.
And it all ends with Marco, too, because what we've seen of his leadership is he's not like his plans are shared that greatly with others. They're all in his head.
Yeah.
And he just makes people act them out.
And
but he's
he
not
talks
really
about Philip being his successor.
But he's not. But he doesn't keep him in the loop.
No, he has not set up any framework for it to continue beyond him.
Because it's all about him. It's all about Marco. And I have made it pretty clear within this conversation the outrage I have that Holden decided to let Marco live. They had the kill shot.
Yeah.
And Holden sees Philip in the background. Naomi sees Philip in the background. There's this, like, it's a good shot. Like, I like the shot of,
it's very, well, yeah. Yeah, you do that, yes.
There was a part of me, too, where I couldn't tell because it's just filmed in such a unique way of, is that just them noticing Philip there, or is it Marco slowly moving to be like, here's Philip?
I was wondering that, too.
Yes, but the point is, Mr. James Holden has made a choice that could damn the rest of humanity. Because Marco's someone who's willing to kill all of humanity if need be to look after himself.
Molecule ships coming in now? What the fuck is with that?
Oh, I can't wait to talk about that a bit more. But how, do you like this choice that Holden, like that they have Holden
I
make.
understand the choice. I like what the choice means in the story. I don't like that Holden made it, though.
No, of course not. But in the early days, we would have been much more furious about this, up in arms. But
about him being like, well, I know best. But it doesn't feel like that's the place that this came from.
What did it come from?
Not wanting to hurt Naomi more.
But isn't that patronizing?
Yeah.
Like, I know he's being protective and caring and whatnot, but at the same time, I bet you dollars to donuts, once Naomi finds out about this, she'll yell
She'll
at
be
him.
fucking pissed, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't treat
But
me like a child.
Yeah, but she'll also be like, thank you for trying to protect him, but it wasn't worth it. Maybe. I don't know exactly. I think she will be angry, at least at first.
We can both agree that it's the wrong choice because of the harm that Marco will now cause.
I think it's going to be a conversation that's very within the show, but also within, like, between Holden and Naomi of, like, but you did this with the protomolecule.
Yeah, but...
You gave it to Fred.
Is it a good choice? Not just because... Like, what makes it a good choice, though? Like, what makes it a good choice? Because I think it fundamentally lines up with his character, but I think it's a bad choice all the way through because on a personal level, what he did on a personal level fucks shit up too. Like, I think it's patronizing. I think it's condescending to Naomi's emotional state, but I get it because he loves her and he doesn't want to see her suffer more. And
she's very vulnerable right now.
But his actions, in a weird way, is very much like a slap in the face too. Of just like, well, I couldn't kill him because it make like Naomi will be pissed off about it. That's the thing, is she'll be pissed off about it, I imagine, because Jim was willing to compromise the safety of basically all of humanity because of her. Because he doesn't want to hurt her feelings. And also, this is what I was talking about at the beginning, in which I do have a frustration with the episode of stretching stuff out. Here we could have killed Marco. But no, we can't because he has to die in the last episode.
Yeah.
We've set up a scenario in which he would die. But we've made it so that he won't die now. He has to die because of his own pride killing him. He has to die in some weird way in which everyone turns against him. He loses his support mechanism and dies, rather than the good guys blow him up, because that would be less interesting. Inherently, it's less interesting if they just blew him up with a torpedo. It's more interesting with what we're seeing, which is Marco's ego and need to be number one, and his supremacy is what's going to be his undoing, because he has so little regards for human life, as you said.
But this is your fault. We didn't need to be here. We didn't need to be in this fight.
You're a coward.
We didn't need to kill James Holden. That was your pride. That was you. Just you wanted to kill the man.
You are relieved of duty! Get off this deck and out of my sight.
Rosenfeld, she's not happy in this episode.
She's really getting tired of Marco's shit. And fair.
But she's still going to follow out the orders.
Yeah.
Because he's in charge.
Yep.
But she has lost the faith in him in this episode because there's nothing to gain. She is about the tactical advantage, even if it removes morality. Sure,
she's willing to put that aside, but she's not. She's not willing to put his ego first. And we saw how uncomfortable that made Marco in a previous episode when she was just like, here is the thing. And he's just like, no, nobody would talk to me like that. And she's just like,
Good.
Good.
Good. People are afraid of you? Great.
That has nothing to do with me. Now he's the fucking thing.
She lacks morality, but she's not insane in the way that he is, because he's insane. He's a broken man. He's so full of himself, but she's not at that level. But at the end of the all, she still will follow him. Philip, on the other hand, he's the big one, where Philip's his son. Philip's the man he's molded into this, but because of everything that's gone on over the course of the series, Philip is now not going to. He did, though, in the episode. He fired. Philip fired multiple times to kill the Rocinante, aka kill his mother.
Which I was wondering if he was going to be able to do. I was wondering if it was going to be that Marco took the controls, or Philip did something similar to Holden, where he pulled punches.
Because the entire thing is Marco makes Philip fire because he's testing his loyalty. It's a power move. It's a flex. It's him making Philip seal his fate. Because if Philip kills his mother, then, well, he has complete control over Marco's complete control over Philip. Did you love how Marco last second has pulled out this imaginary division between belters, a hierarchy of belters, just so that he can...
Well, he needs to create further division. He's just like, of course he fucking is pulling this shit now. Because he's got the whole belt under his thumb, but now he's not going to have the whole belt under his thumb, so he needs a reason why those people don't deserve it.
In the end, the only pure belters are Marco. He says our name. It's all about our name. It's all about us two. But it's just about Marco.
Yeah.
He's the only one that matters.
Because, was it last episode that he was just like, or maybe it was the one before, when he's just like, Sin and I would go and do this and this and this because we were the great ones.
We didn't have time to fuck around. Now you have to pull yourself up by your boot. Back in my day. Yes, that was the previous episode. And Philip stands up against Marco, only for Marco to kick him out.
Yep.
This is probably the last time, I would say, or one of the last times where Marco can pull Philip in, I imagine.
Yeah. Marco is... I'm not sure if it's that Marco has lost the grip on the leash or Philip is too strong for the leash now.
Do you think Marco knows? Like, do you think he gets that he's actually losing Philip, or do you think, I've got Philip in control because I can tear him down?
I think he's too arrogant to believe that he could lose him.
That's how I feel too.
But I do think that he knows that Naomi being there weakened their bond, but I think he thinks that it's all good now.
And we end all of this with Marco having lost, but he will be able to rise up again because Laconia is providing him with some new toys, some new ships, and this is going to be a fun old time for him. I imagine that these are like proto-molecule enhanced warships, or at least whatever weirdo, bizarre experimentation they've got on in Laconia. And one of the takeaways I had from this was, why are they helping him? Why are they helping him? Because at the end of the 5th season, I got the impression that they were like, we are on our side, you're on yours.
Yeah,
Bye.
I thought so too, but
they've had an ongoing relationship, and we've heard the whole stuff about like strengthening Medina and worrying and making sure to think about Laconia, but it has also been present that there is a dynamic with Laconia, and I'm a bit surprised by that. I thought that it was very much we helped you, you helped us, that's the end of it.
Yeah. But maybe because they didn't realize how much they would require ongoing support because of the fact that Laconia probably looked like it was going to be fine, going to be safe, going to be habitable. But now we know, thanks to those segments, that they need to grow everything themselves.
I was shocked too that Laconia is made up of more than just Martians. That there's people from everywhere.
Yeah.
I thought it was like a Martian separatist purist world, but it's like anyone who's going to just bow down, I guess. But then we also know from the children's family that they aren't subscribers to the belief.
yeah.
So I don't know why they're there. Like, what makes you come to Laconia?
Yeah, it's a little unclear.
It's unclear. But they're willing to provide ships, and I don't know why. Like, I get what you're saying, but at the same time...
Is it just because of Cortazar is working with Marco because Marco is enabling him to work with the proto-molecule?
I think it's mainly what you said, which is they need Marco to own the ring space so that they can come in and out and get whatever they need. Because if it falls back into the control of the other powers, then Laconia is going to have problems. But also,
they won't have they likely won't have free passage.
But I also don't buy that with what we know of Laconia, that they would be dumb enough to think that Marco would stay in control.
Yeah.
Because he's obviously a short-term antagonistic figure, not a long-term ruler.
Yeah.
What would you rate this episode on our scale of Yum being bad and Yum Yum being good? You seem fairly mixed.
I'm on the fence, to be honest. It didn't wow me, but it didn't offend me. I'm gonna end up giving it a yum yum.
Yum yum.
When you ask me, like, what's the problem with it, I feel like a lot of them are relatively minor gripes that I have with it that are not necessarily problems with the episode, and I don't feel like putting that on this episode. Other times I do, but today, not one of those days.
I give this episode a yum yum.
Yum yum.
I enjoyed it more than the last episode, but I still think the first episode is the one I've enjoyed the most.
We
overall this
agree
current
on our
season.
rankings so far.
Yeah. This one had some great character stuff. I popped to see some old faces again. Yeah, I got Prax again. We got some old faces. It was nice to see them. That definitely helps smooth over some of the rough edges. Rachel, what is on the docket for the next one?
Redoubt.
Redoubt.
Yes. As in a temporary or supplementary fortification.
Well,
typically a square or polygonal and without flanking defenses.
I think Marco's going to get himself into one of those. I think this is going to be an episode in which we are going to have Drummer take down Marco's supplies. He's going to be blindsided by this. She's going to rise up as the new hero of the belt. I think Monica is going to also be a part of what fucks Marco over, because we have seen, even on series, but it feels like in other places too, that Marco's image is tarnished. He's a coward in their eyes. Christian is going to get the information from Prax and use it to help heal the short supply of things for the Belters and for Earth, and she's going to be seen as a hero. I think this is going to be an episode in which the tides begin to really change because Marco is truly on the back foot. Holden is going to contact the doctor lady from Illis, and she's going to give us some red goo theories, and it'll be a nice cameo, and we go,
Agree with
it's that
one.
it's that character. I think we're going to have Philip not leave, but I think we're going to have him reach the breaking point truly with Marco in the next episode. Something's going to happen where he says, I'm out of here. Whether it means I'm physically out of here or he's going to, as you like to predict, betray Marco. But I think that's the episode. That's the next episode. Those are my predictions.
Yeah, I think some of mine are similar. I think that Marco is going to start laying the grounds for his final stand. That's just an obvious thing to happen on the back of his defeat, but also in terms of where it is within the episodes. I think Holden is going to see some personal consequences for his decision to disarm the missile, because there's no way that he can hide it from Naomi.
Yes. We have to know if, like, that has to come up some point.
So at least between the two of them, I feel like that's got to come up. I think we're going to not hear about Monica specifically, but dealing with the fallout of the explosion on Ceres.
We have to know her fate. At the moment, she
but
could be dead.
I think it's going to be up in the air for a little bit.
Any series-wide predictions? We've only got a couple left. Any end game beliefs?
I think we're going to get some more information, but maybe not some answers yet about red goo.
In what way?
But I don't know. I just think we're going to get another nugget of information. That's it.
Yeah, but I want to know, like, how do you think this shapes up? Like, even if we don't see it, like, this is, part of, like, the end prediction of things. Like, what does a nugget mean? What does this actually look like for you in your mind's eye?
I think they're going to realize that there is some sort of ecosystem and balance or equilibrium between the blue goo and the red goo. And that stasis needs to be restored. So opening up the ring gate sort of increased the level of blue goo, so now the red goo is increasing to balance it.
Do you think
That's my random thought.
Do you think any of our main characters will die?
Yes.
Not just Marco, but like any of the actual heroes? Or mains?
Other than Monica, maybe?
You think Monica's gonna die? I think Peaches is gonna die.
I think Peaches is gonna. Peaches is dead.
I also have this theory, and I don't think it will extend to this show, but I can see at some point in the future that a character dies and they bring them back to life with the weird Laconian creatures. Because that's the thing. But obviously, the little girl is going to bring her brother back to life if he's dead, and he's going to be a freaky, weird monster, and it's going to... Oh, wouldn't it be hilarious if... Oh, this would be hilarious. Oh, this would be great. Laconia gets wiped out by the end of this season because this little girl fucked up the ecosystem and fucked them up.
Yeah.
Because she brought her brother back to life, and then that like is a domino effect, and it just goes all the way up and just wipes out Laconia. That would be great. That would be awesome, actually. Like, if by the end of this season we actually had the Laconia stuff add up to be this girl, because she fed a bird some food killed the entire colony, and that is a great encapsulation of the damage humanity brings wherever it goes because it doesn't think and has a childlike view, would actually make me like the Laconia stuff more. I don't think they're going to do that because it feels like they got too much like mystery stuff going on. Like, what's the big ship in the air all about? That they would, but man, that would fucking rock my socks off because this is all I want. By the end of the show, I want to feel like I didn't waste my time with the Laconia stuff. That's all.
Yeah,
that's what I want by the end of this
fair.
season.
You know what I'm really looking forward to?
Yes.
About finishing up the series and our coverage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to talk in our Patreon Discord server without having worries of spoilers, and maybe having a look through that private channel that has the spoilers that we don't look at.
You are really supposed to say you're looking forward to playing the video game. You're looking forward to playing that. You're always telling me, Ryan, I really can't wait to play the Telltale video game. And read all
thank you
of
for
the books.
listening, everybody.
And play the
special
tabletop
thank
game.
you to those patrons that are still here and still
And learn the Belter language. That's another thing you've said to me late at night. You want to do the wrap up in the Belter Creole?
No.
No?
If you want to find us on social media, you can search yumyumpod or yumyumpodcast. Sending us an email, you should direct it towards yumyumpod@gmail.com. And as we've mentioned a couple of times, if you want to check out our Patreon, you do get the coverage of the Expanse early, as well as a bunch of other content depending on what tier you sign up to. And there is a huge back catalogue that you also get access to when you sign up.
We used to end by saying, please bring the Gaunt Belter back, but they brought him back. Will they do it again? Will they be brave enough to do it again? We've already made predictions that Jules Pierre Mao or Dr. Elvie would come back, joked that Havelock will return. But another figure that I would not be surprised if we saw again, or at least heard the fate of. Anyone you think, Rachel? Who do you think I'm gonna bring up?
What season were they in?
Season 3.
Now,
Aaron Wright. Let him have a word. I just want to know he's okay.
I was tossing up between Aaron Wright and Burn Gorman.
Oh, Mertru's in 4. Oh, look, let's have a one ship of two of them in prison together, playing a game of basketball or something. Like they survived. It's just them two.
Shoves a Jolly Rancher into his mouth.
Yeah, but which one does that? Which one's the Lex Luthor from Batman v Superman in this scenario? Now, remember, Burn Gorman apparently was in Batman v Superman as a priest. I think you said that one time.
Yeah.
So I guess Aaron Wright is Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor.
Now Earthers know what it feels like to be Belter.